Okay, Michelle, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I think I'm good. I like 2 months in quarantine, and I feel like the world's turning upside down, so it's fine.
Yeah. The
And maybe
world
it's
is.
not fine because I feel like what we need to talk about today is not fine. So I'm saying that because I think it's just a thing I say, but like that's not the reality,
No, my mom used the word fine a lot too, and I've grown to hate it. Mom's fine. We're all fine. And
right?
right, it's great, but
I spent
it
some time
doesn't.
as a kid in a program called Elatine, and there was an acronym that they taught for fine. It was like effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional, which I find to be true most of the time.
I think that that's a better. I like that acronym, and I think that that's a better use of the word.
It's probably more accurate.
Yeah.
So today we decided that we would talk about this situation that happened in Georgia and the whole I run with Maud thing that's happening right now because,
Right.
and we feel weird talking about this. So if you're listening, and if maybe you're listening and not looking at us, Michelle and I are very white girls. Let's just be straight about this.
Mhm.
We're real white, and we do not have the discrimination that a lot of people have because we're just normal average people, which I think everybody is normal average people, but clearly racism is still a problem in our world, in our country. And it, like, I tried to ignore this for a little bit because it just was heavy and I felt like I couldn't take it. And then I recognized that, like, literally by ignoring it, like, my whiteness is showing. And so I like took a look at it the other day. I feel like I looked on Mother's Day, which broke my heart because like this guy was going to turn 26, I think, like this week,
Right. Yeah.
and his mom has Mother's Day without her son, which
Right.
is awful.
Right. Right. I think that that's where my heart goes immediately too, is that a mother lost her son, a son lost his life.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that I'm not an expert on any topic, but my empathy from having lost a mother and a husband is that I can fathom a moment of what that's like. I can't fathom the fact that it's someone that isn't my race. I can't fathom the fact that it's someone that is walking a completely different path than I am. But I think what grief has taught me is that there's an empathy there for people that, like, that loss and that feeling of all of those firsts is sometimes insurmountable. And I can't even fathom what a poor mom is going through on Mother's Day or has gone through on Mother's Day and every day after.
And I think the thing that's hard is this is not the first. Like this happens
No.
often, which is to me disgusting. Like I
Right.
cannot fathom racism. I cannot fathom and understand how someone can think that they're better than somebody else for any number of reasons, but especially because of how they look. Like
Right.
I'm just absolutely flabbergasted by that. Like I cannot wrap my head around it. And
Mhm.
even being able to say that, like I'm sure people of color can't wrap their head around it either, and yet they're targeted. So like I don't know. I'm not even sure how to talk about this. And Michelle and I talked for a little bit before we started recording about should we talk about this. And honestly, I think the easy thing to do is ignore this topic, right? But it doesn't feel like it's responsible to ignore the topic because I think we need to make it part of conversation so that we can recognize collectively that this is not normal. It's not okay. And as an ally of humans, I think it's our responsibility to say something about it. Hopefully that's not
Right.
inappropriate.
No, it's not inappropriate. That's the struggle. I was telling you, that's the struggle that I go through is like, we're not experts on this topic by any means
At all.
at all.
I like
And
frequently stumble into awkward race conversations and things like that because I just don't know any better.
right. And I go back to like the thing for me that I always go back to is trying to understand where another person's coming from. And I try to do that in any situation where I don't know whether it's race, whether it's other topics. I just try to like tell me more about what that's like for you. Um, so that I can try to understand for a moment. I'm never going to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, but I want that empathy that I have in me to try to understand so that if there are things I can do, I can be helpful.
Right.
It's just hard for me because I don't know how we're going to, I mean, you go from a, run with Maud, and that is awesome. And I know that a lot of people had powerful reactions to doing that. But then where do you go with that information? So people ran with Maud as a collective, but what are we doing next about it? What's the next?
And that's the part I don't know, but this is why I guess I felt
Right.
that we needed to talk about this, because I think if
Exactly.
nothing else, people that are not part of the conversation need to get involved in the conversation. Like, I think that
Right.
the worst thing that we can do as white people is ignore that this is happening, or not speak up about it, or not like condemn it. Like, I cannot imagine how these men felt like it was acceptable for them to get guns, get in their car, pursue another human being, and choose to take his life.
Right.
Like, I can't get behind that. I can't understand it. And I think if we don't talk about it, like, the more this keeps happening, the more people are
Right.
just like, well, it's a thing that happens. This should never be a thing that happens.
No. I mean, why is it a thing that is still happening?
I don't
Like,
know.
that's what I
Can't
don't understand.
imagine. I
Like,
feel like we've come so far as humans,
yeah.
and then like clearly we have not. Like,
No, because how do you choose like the value over someone's life? Like, I've never understood that. Never understood like a gun that someone has and they make a decision to say like, I don't value you. Like, why?
right?
Like, that to me makes
Everybody is
absolutely
someone's son, daughter, important to
right.
somebody. I mean, like, you're affecting such, and I feel like probably from grief journey. I mean, like, I lost my dad, and one person has such a ripple effect with so
They
many
do.
people. And
They
even
do.
at his, so my dad was like a biker, a big, like, crazy, awesome dude, but
Sure.
like not religious. He was never going to be a funeral home guy. We threw a kegger for a celebration of life. And like the people who came to like tell stories about him and connect with us, like, I had no idea he had that kind of reach. I mean,
Right.
so like every single person who is persecuted like this, there's a
So,
huge community of people behind them who are affected.
right. And the loss of the potential
Right.
of the things that that person could do in that community that they impact. Like,
Right. I mean, as it is, we don't get to keep anybody we really love long enough anyway. And then to
no.
have something like this happen where like someone else makes the choice is horrible.
Right. Well, and then imagine being the people that are that remain, and the questions that they have and they go through, and the what ifs that like they're gonna always have in their mind.
Awful.
And like, to me, like that's just I mean, that's just senseless.
It's totally
And
senseless. I tried
like,
to, so I did run, and I hated it, by the way. I hated the whole damn thing. And I just kept, that's what I kept thinking about was everybody else the whole time. It
yeah,
was terrible.
well,
But I mean, and as I kept thinking, like, I hate this. And then I immediately was like, no, no, no. What I hate more is the fact that this man died.
right.
That like, and not even like, so I have to go run.
No.
I'm trying to not suck at running and like exercising anyway. Like, it was a good reason to be like, let's go out. But like, I hate the fact that like we have to band together over something so negative. Like, I wish we could find a way to make it positive and like keep doing something else. So I don't know if anyone has ideas on that. Excuse me, resources. Michelle was just asking me like, do I know any good books about this topic? And I, quite frankly, I don't, but I'm very interested in learning about it and expanding, because obviously we
Right.
want to do the right thing, you know?
We've had a couple of community reads in Oshkosh on the topic of,
Oh, that's awesome.
right. And so I know that there have been some good books that have been, and I can share those if people are looking for a deeper dive into topic area. That's just not an easy topic area.
Yeah, I say put it in the show notes. I'd be interested. I mean,
Yes.
so I talked about this with my kids before I ran, and I
Mhm.
invited them to come with me, and they both declined. But then we talked about it, and they were like, why did he die? And I just told them, I was like, he was murdered because of racist people who thought they were better. And like, we talk about this in our family. We have lots of people in diversity in our life, maybe not lots, because like Wisconsin's pretty damn white, but we have people with different sexual
Mhm.
orientations, people with different family structures, people of different color. You know, we value diversity in our house.
Right.
so we talked about it, and both kids were just like, we can't understand why this happens. And I was like, I know, but we have to keep talking about it because I don't get it either. But like the
Right.
other job that we have in raising humans is like making sure they're good people. Like,
Exactly.
I guess as a white woman, I think one of the biggest responsibilities I have is making sure I raise people who stand up for other people and don't persecute them.
Right. And
It's
even
not
though, yeah,
a
even when
process.
it's hard, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy to instill the ability to speak up in other people,
Right.
especially tiny humans that you have a big influence on. But if
Right.
they see that you do it
Well, we
and you talk
tried to
about
get
it,
their opinion and their feedback. And this year, both kids had really amazing teachers this year.
yeah.
Aaliyah's class, they read a book for Black History Month that was awesome. And basically what the teacher did that was so cool was she sent it around and then also sent a notebook and was like, read this with your child out loud with your family, and
Mhm.
then write a note in this journal and keep passing it along. So by the time we got it, I think like half the class's families had already had it. And everyone wrote their reaction in the journal, and it was super cool. So the book was about Black History Month, and it was literally like an A
Mhm.
through Z kind of thing, and each letter stood up for something in Black culture. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say Black culture or African American culture or what, but I feel like I generally stick with the term like Black culture. So someone can correct me on that if you're offended. I'm really sorry. I want to do the right thing. Tell me what to do. But when we were reading that book, like we were talking through, like it talked about like color of your skin, texture of your hair, things that are important to this culture, like all this cool stuff. And Leah like had some really interesting insight about it. And it was like one of the coolest assignments we had, and it was amazing. Like I think I posted on Facebook
Mhm.
about it because I was like, everyone should do this. Like hats off to her teacher for being so thoughtful.
Mhm.
But I think we have to just keep having that conversation.
We do. We do. We can't shy away from it because it's hard. And by having the conversations, usually people chime in and you can learn more. And so I hope that as our followers listen to this episode, maybe can chime in with resources that they've found to be helpful, and
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
or if there's things that they're reading, um, their feelings and their thoughts, because everybody's got a thought and a feeling and they're all valid.
Yeah.
And
I
I mean,
would be really down with that. And I think that's probably where we need to wrap it up and end it, because I don't know what other value we can offer except that like we don't support this and we want to do the right thing and we want to be good allies and good people. Um, and I honestly feel like the right thing to do is enter the conversation, even without enough background, without enough information, just to at least say like, no one deserves this. Everyone
no,
deserves to be valued. Every human life has potential and value, and nobody should be deciding for anybody else, especially for reasons of race, if they provide enough value to live or not.
right. It's not our choice to make that.
No, not at
No.
all.
Mm-mm.
So if you guys have good resources, if you have thoughts, if you want to correct anything that we said or offer feedback on how we can do or be better, we're down with it. I think we intended this podcast to be more uplifting and positive, which we are really glass half full and glass half refillable people. But when like things like this happen and our world is tackled, and literally we launch this podcast while we're in quarantine, while people are at odds, while our worlds are upside down, I mean, I think we can be as glass half full as possible, but also we're real.
We're
So,
real. And I think that, part of lifestyle this is life. I
right.
mean, we're not, so far, we haven't really shied away from anything. We're not dealing with things. It's just our own space of trying to figure out what and how and making it all work.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to leave you guys with a good thought. Just let's all see what we can do together to just be better. Cause I like this sickens me every time it happens and I'm sick of it happening. I just want us to be better
Right.
as people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll
Okay.
get a better topic next time that's more positive, I hope. There's got to be something good happening in the world, people. Got to be.
There are good things.
I love it. All right. Bye.
Bye.